Go ahead, take it away.
Wow, thanks everybody. Happy Saturday. Thank you for spending some time with me and learn something about how you got some code working now. How do I share it? This talk might be very interesting for some of you, more interesting than others. But let me start off by saying hello. My name's Elaine Wong. Hey, look at that. I know my own name. That's good. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. Either one is good. If you want to follow me on social media, try these links. If you don't, that's also okay. Social media is not for everybody. I'm Canadian. I don't know why my Canadian flag is so small, but I am a proud Canadian. I hail from the good old city of Toronto. Everyone hates Toronto, but that's okay. And you might have seen me at the following exciting conferences. You might have seen me earlier this year at PyCon US, where I was trying to learn all I can from Ariadne as co-chair. You may also see me at CSPConf V8, which is a lovely conference that I've organized for the last 7 editions. And we just had a great time in Puebla, Mexico. And also at PyLadies. Fun fact, this photo of me is actually from 2021, during the lovely remote years of PyCon. This is me actually trying to run the PyLadies auction online. You can't really see, but in the background you can see some of the PyLadies auctioneers. It was a really, really fun time. So that's just, I guess, my hobbies and my name. So my day job is actually, I'm a streaming producer at CBC News. CBC News is actually a public broadcaster in Canada, and my job is to help run these 4 channels. These 4 channels are actually our new 24/7 streaming channels, and you can find us on lovely television platforms such as Roku, Samsung, LG channels, or Tubi, to name a few. We're also on Plex. Since we're in the US, I'm not 100% sure where we are, but if you Google, or rather if you go through your favorite television operating system, you will find my lovely work, my team's work here. So my team is a group of 5 people, and we program roughly about 672 hours of programming every day, every day. There's not even enough hours in that day, so every week. So that is actually my day job. I'm actually a working journalist, and I've been a journalist at the CBC for 14 years. So unfortunately, this also means that I don't get to write a lot of Python. And now Python is now a lovely hobby of mine. So I just want to start off this talk by saying the following disclaimers. Disclaimer number 1, this is not a talk about packaging. At least not that kind of packaging talk. If you're interested in the lovely overview of packaging tools and environment management, please check out this talk by Annalena at EuroPython. It's great. She did a fabulous job, way better than anything I could ever do. Disclaimer number 2, my speaker note says, and yes, this is still not a talk about packaging. Thank you, Pastor Elaine, that is smart. I actually don't know the best solution for this problem that I'm having, but maybe you do, and if you do, please tell me, because I'm dying to learn the best way I can share my very simple code to a bunch of people. And also, before I completely get started, this is actually my very first ever technical talk. Please be kind, and thank you for being part of this journey. I greatly appreciate it. So now that I've hopefully given you a lovely introduction, let me talk about, this is actually a talk for seasoned newish devs. So what I mean by that is that someone always references this book to me every single time I talk about being a serious beginner, and they always like, oh, like woodworking for a serious beginner. So I like to say that I'm in the new era of programming for the serious beginner. So this probably means that you might code a lot for fun. You probably might be the only developer on your team. You wanted to automate the boring stuff, even though you're not supposed to write any code for your job, but you just happened to start because you couldn't stand the fact that you can't just automate this. Or my absolute favorite, you're so tired of being told that your feature request is out of scope, and because you're the only one that asked for it, so the dev team won't make it for you, and you're on your own. Now that we've established this, let's start with my lovely work problem. So this is my work problem. As you know, we've built a lot of programming for these channels. These channels actually compile a lot of individual videos that are in our content management system, and we just need to figure out a way to sort them and program them into 6 lovely hours of original programming. These blocks are about 14, 15 videos each, and you can tell it's on a variety of topics. And every day, my lovely journalists were copying these lists by hand into a Google spreadsheet. So literally, they even took me on steps of how they did it. They will open up the playlist page. They were copying and pasting each text by hand into the Google spreadsheet. But it was missing some metadata in this view. So then they would click on each individual clip, then go and click again into the metadata tab to get the last bit of metadata, which was the reference ID, which, in my humble opinion, is the most important ID to have in these types of things. And then afterwards, they just then put it together in a spreadsheet. So my poor APs, associate producers, would spend every day doing this. They have to, on average, do 2 playlists a day, and then on top of it, if people got busy, they also had to do theirs as well. So they were basically copying and pasting these 4 to 6 playlists themselves every single day. And I was like, well, this doesn't seem like the best use of your time. I really haven't learned how to train AI to do this for us yet. And since AI can't do it yet, I need you to curate these channels. And we noticed that when there's a human creation, people actually respond to it. So please focus on doing the fun stuff of making really great videos, gel together by curating these playlists, and I will deal with the fun spreadsheet problem. And you might be wondering, why are we using a spreadsheet when clearly there's a database? Well, that's a talk for another day. So this problem actually kind of became my problem when I talked to the lovely developers who did this in-house product, and we call it WebTelly, and they actually were incredibly generous and fabulous, where I was like, hey, what is WebTelly powered by, and what's the backend like? And they're like, actually, it's a Django app. It's written in Python. If you're interested, here's the lovely Bitbucket repo, and here's the API. So we're too busy to actually help you develop this feature because you're the only one who asked for it. So hey, go crazy and make some code. And I took them up on their challenge and went, sure, writing code is what I like doing and for fun, so might as well finally be able to marry the 2 of these things together. So ta-da, an idea was born. So for those of you who have ever written code before, which I'm assuming most of you in this room might have, coding by yourself is always a lot of fun because the second that it works, you're ecstatic. And when the second it doesn't work, you're like, I don't know what I did, and I don't know who to talk to see if I can figure this out. So I ended up being kind of this person for a while, where I don't know why my code isn't working, and I also don't know why my code is working, but hey, it works. And I felt kind of silly being really, really excited, because all I really was doing was more or less taking a GET request and then formatting into a CSV-friendly format. But hey, I finally got to code for work. I was so happy. This was finally a marriage of all the things I love doing, which is programming television, being a journalist, and programming. So I felt it was a win. So here I was tapping away at my lovely VS Code, and then it, have to admit, not going to win any awards for this type of code, but it works. And then I was doing my little happy dance. That was just literally me. I turned into a pink unicorn, and I kept screaming, I did it, I did it, I did it. In which my entire team went, gimme, gimme, gimme. We want it now. But here's my dilemma. My entire team is actually incredibly not technical, and I mean that in the most generous of ways. They are not programmers. When I told them, hey, have you tried downloading VS Code? I can show you how to run this code. They were like, what exactly do I need to do? So I walked them through it, which is, hey, make sure we have the same version of Python. Make sure you pip install the correct libraries. And have you ever tried compiling a script before? Like, have you tried going to the terminal and typing like Python script.py? And then they're like, what? and then they also brought up some really good points, which was when they were playing around with my code, they're like, so what happens if there's a change? What happens if we want a new feature? What happens if we break something? Like, how will you help us? And I went, okay, whatever you do, don't edit the file. And if there's any errors, just like, take a screen grab of the output. And they immediately went, what did I just read? Like, what exactly, what? And so I was like, okay, there must be a way. There must be a way for me to be able to share this code, have it run in the cloud, or have it run on a server, so that if I need to make any changes, it doesn't, you'll see it right away. We don't have to, then teach each other how to like use Git and download the code and all this fun stuff. So let's find the simplest solution out there where I can just send you this lovely Python script and you just hit play. So the first solution was, I know I put a Google Collab icon here, but of course it's always, every single person I talked to went, hey, have you tried Juypter Notebooks? And I went, great. But isn't Juypter Notebooks just locally hosted and all this fun stuff? But like, no, like Google hosts a version of it now as part of Google Collab. I'm like, great. And it was fabulous. I could pre-install the libraries. It's mostly free. There's a lovely share link. And the best part about the share link is that I can just share it with certain people. It was very easy to just update and then just tell people, hey, press play, it'll all work out. It also has a nice integration with Google Drive. And now, thanks to Gemini, my entire team's kind of like really excited about using the AI features in Google Colab to then start doing their own coding, which has been pretty awesome to watch. And they were pretty happy about it until they realized the user interface isn't that very intuitive. And one day I did something silly, which was I was trying to be proactive and not leak too many usernames and passwords because, as we all know, when we're programming for ourselves, we don't really care about things like hiding the fact that we shouldn't just openly share passwords in a Google Colab notebook. And then we ran into some issues, which was basically, I had to now tell them how to input all these secrets. Secrets don't seem to be traveling between users on Google Colab. Maybe I just misread how to do it, but that was one of the big issues. And then what happens is that any verbose errors that they were seeing, they got really super scared of. They're like, I don't know what's going on, I'm scared, I'm not troubleshooting this, I'm running away, I'm going back to copy and pasting. And I was like, please don't, please. This is so, we can do this so much easier. So that was the biggest issue. Another issue is also when you look at the Google Colab output, it's just literally just a bit of a box. So I had to like do some JavaScripting and kind of figure out if there was any way to kind of skin the kind of front end of Google Colab to make it more user-friendly. I know there's projects like MyBinder, and also I believe Anvil has a way to kind of build a front end in front of Google Colabs. But unfortunately, I didn't get a huge chance to make it work for this talk, so I will tell you all about it and encourage you to look more into this if you're interested. But since I didn't try it, I cannot speak much about it. So I was like, okay, there must be an easier way if people are like, oh, Google Colab seems to be a little difficult. So then, thanks to Google then suggested Trinket.io. Trinket's actually really simple. It lets you share code from any device. It'll let you run your code in any browser. And it works instantly. I didn't really have to log in or anything. You can easily share. These were checking all the boxes I needed. It was pretty simple, allows me to, and the best part is that you actually can download the code afterwards and into a nice little zip file. And in this case, it actually will also output the CSV file for you, and which is what Google Colab can do as well. You can write a module for CSV and then say, hey, can you write me a CSV file? And then it will just pop it into your file explorer. And same with Trinket. The only downsides about Trinket is that you actually have to pay to use Python 3, which I found out the hard way. So when I was trying to push this code into Trinket, thanks to Marietta, I fell in love with f-strings, but the only downside of that is that f-strings are actually apparently Python 3 only. And I was like, oh, that's good to know. And it doesn't seem to actually hide any secrets because the entire point of Trinket is just to make things very easy to share. So I had a hard time convincing my team to move over to this just because of these two issues. And also I didn't really want to refactor my code back to Python 2.7, only because I feel like that's way too much work. And then another person suggested, hey, have you tried PyScript? It said, oh, it all fits the bill. Look, you can have a nice front end. You have all these extra files that you can kind of like make it so that it's more user-friendly, and it's supposed to, run Python. And I'm like, thanks, person, for recommending this. And then they also mentioned like, oh, I can store your API secrets. It's great UI. And then I was like, great, I'm going to try this right now. So, fun story. I spent about 5 hours last night trying to make this work for the life of me. And I realized halfway through, I don't think pyscript.com actually takes native Python, but I think that was also me being frustrated because I couldn't get import modules to work. And I just went, okay, like I was really hoping to just plop my code locally into a web browser and magically have it run and share with all my colleagues, and this was not the answer, at least not for me. And then I thought to myself, well, if I was going to do all this work to refactor my code to make it work in PyScript, why don't I just, run my own web server while at it? So that's my spoiler alert. So then the lovely folks at Anvil also developed a nice little project called PySpace. I'm actually wearing their t-shirt because as part of the lovely making an app in PySpace, they give you a t-shirt. So thank you, PySpace. And I thought it was really actually pretty good. It has this nice view. You can see that you can, there's a front end and there's a back end. And the best part is that they have a nice little UI designer that allows you to kind of click around and build little buttons. And the best part is that for the back end, I can just do all native Python, and I don't have to worry about what new error messages I've never thought of before, which was, await functions and all this fun stuff, because I'm not really into Java. I'm not really a JavaScript developer. So this is the lovely front end that I created for myself. All it does is it just grabs the playlist name of the playlist I'm trying to convert into a CSV, and then voila, it'll spit it out. I thought it was pretty intuitive. I really enjoyed it. My only complaint was just I couldn't figure out a way to get the CSV file to export. I could get it to display, I can get everything else working, but I just couldn't figure out a way to just get this file saved natively into either a file explorer or just even a pop-up telling me, hey, do you want to download this file? So the last solution was, hey, why don't I just build my own web app? I mean, that's clearly the solution, right? All you got to do is just put this lovely script I wrote into a Flask app and then just host it somewhere, and then voila, there's a front end. I probably make it first, and then I control everything. I can make sure the UI is pretty. I can make sure that the errors are verbose enough, and I could tell them, hey, please just email Elaine if something goes wrong, or even have the app email me, be like, something went wrong. You should totally check this out. And I was going to be like, okay, great. I'm going to be so excited. I could be like, hey, PyOhio, guess what I did? While I was making my first talk, I also deployed my first web app. About that, so the last 2 weeks of the news cycle has been kind of interesting. This guy almost this guy did get shot. Toronto flooded, and then a bunch of cars were sunk. CrowdStrike happened, and there was a global IT outage. And then Biden decided to not seek re-election. And I was like, oh, this was only the news cycle for 7 days. What else could go interestingly wrong? And then Alberta had a giant wildfire. And I was like, okay. So unfortunately, I was a little busy with my day job. Just a little one. And then on top of that, CBC is the official broadcaster for a certain sporting event, which meant I had to redo all my channel's programming because we heavily rely on our CBC television terrestrials to feed us content. And now that CBC is on a 22-hour Olympics cycle, it has made my life very interesting in the last few days while I rejig all my schedules so that we have constant local news content available to our audience. So if you ever need to hear about local BC or Toronto updates, please, I highly recommend checking out their fast streaming channels as they would have the most up-to-date news. So, but the good news is, because this is the best part about PyOhio, there's a lot of great other talks. So I highly recommend, if you are really curious about how Django deployment, James Balto has a great talk right after me at 11 o'clock. So, hey, two birds, one stone. You come and learn a little bit about sharing Python code, and then you go, great. She was probably right. Web apps are probably the way to go. I'm going to see James's talk next. So in summary, there's actually these are all really good options about how to quickly make Python code, compile it, and also be able to run it on a web browser, and then share it without having to download, run, install anything locally, and also having to teach people how to set up their own developer environments. As I mentioned, each of them have their pros and cons. I highly recommend you all checking it out. But in terms of just easy shareability, easy kind of quick things you want to show people, especially for folks who are not developers, each one of them has been a really fun to kind of like beta test with my group, and I thank them so much for dealing and being patient with me while I'll be like, hey, can you try this? And they're like, okay. And then they're like, actually, this is even more annoying than the last one. So thank you, team. I greatly appreciate it. And I want to also say thank you, PyOhio, for organizing this lovely conference and for selecting this talk. And thank you so much, everybody, for sticking around and listening to me ramble about a topic I'm incredibly passionate about, which is trying to make it a lot easier for my team members to do fun things and automate the boring things. So thank you so much.